Last hour, I told you that it was, I gave you the name of the senator, and the name was given to me by a guy who I don't necessarily trust. It's a guy who has been on the side of the Constitution and then has played both sides, and you're kind of like, okay, I don't think I trust you. And as a guy who I have looked at, would you guys agree, knowing the name, would you agree that he's more of a progressive than, I thought he was more of a progressive?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, okay, so he's a guy who's not necessarily a friend of the show, or ever has been a friend of the show, and was in this meeting with senators last week where Mike Lee and Ted Cruz were dressed down. And you heard Mike talk a little bit about it on the Hugh Hewitt program. And then they don't want to talk about it anymore because Mike feels he made a huge mistake in saying it, because now it becomes nothing but a story of infighting. And he wants to keep focused on the goal. And the goal is, let's balance the budget. Let's not raise the debt ceiling. Let's make sure everybody understands how much trouble the country is in, and let's stop Obamacare.
And if you missed the big reveal last hour, it was Mitch McConnell who essentially called these two guys traitors.
Yeah.
And said that everybody, and then somebody else stood up and said, and if you, by the way, I was just up for re-election, and Freedom Works and the Senate Conservative Committee Fund both came after me, and anybody who gets $1 from them is considered my enemy. And I'm guessing I know who that is.
Do you wish to say? We have no idea. I want you to know we have no idea.
This. I would guess it's Orrin Hatch.
I think it is,
that would be my guess.
I think it is, too. But we have no idea. We literally have no idea. I'm hoping to have a name by the end of the day. We'll see. These guys, okay, so the guy gave me the name because he's standing there. He's a senator. He's been around forever. He's a senator. And he's like, this has changed. This doesn't happen. This is not the way the game is played. And this is not, this is knife you, not even a knife. This is a shiv fight.
And when you say it doesn't happen before, you're saying people and they're calling other senators in their
traitors.
Own party traitors.
Yeah. And if you stand with people who believe in the Constitution, you're a traitor.
I will say it never seems to happen on the Democratic side, ever.
Never does.
There's never an example of something like this happening.
But that's why the Democrats have been completely co-opted by George Soros and the Center for American Progress and everything else. And that's what the progressives are trying to do with the Republicans. Sit down, shut up. You're going to do it our way. Period. Now, I just want to talk about this here for a second. What they're saying is, don't you speak your truth. I'm not saying that everybody has to agree with Freedom Works or the 9/12 Project or the Tea Party or anything else. We're talking about the Constitution. The Constitution. That I expect a U.S. Senator to agree with. So if you're standing against the Constitution, I got a real issue with you. But let's just go back in time and look. How dare Mitch McConnell ever talk about the Founding Fathers ever again? Founding Fathers disagreed strongly on things. Strongly. You look at Hamilton and Jefferson, they couldn't be any more different.
Yeah, and Adams and Jefferson, who started out best friends, wound up hating each other went back to being best friends. But, I mean, they said some of the most despicable things we've talked about in the past of all time about each other.
Yeah. And I want you to know, but they agreed, let's get away from the king.
Yep.
We want to be individuals. Yep. We want to be free. Okay? That's not what's happening here. They're not talking about being free. They're talking about control. And let me just explain something to you. Let me tell you, nobody ever said to George Washington, take a seat, sit down, shut up. Nobody said that. But I think it's because they weren't lords. They weren't rulers. They were farmers. They were attorneys. They were regular people that had regular jobs. And most of them did not want to go to Philadelphia. Imagine the heat of Philadelphia that summer. Who wanted to be there? And you were talking about being a traitor. You sign your name on this document and you're going to be hung. So the heat that they had to have at that point, because everything was on the line. Your life was on the line. These senators, please. Oh, their health care is on the line. You know how much we pay them for the rest of their life? Over $200,000 a year for the rest of their life. Because they served the people? They're not serving the people. All right, 30 seconds. I don't want to start a conversation. I want to take Kathy. She's got a really good idea. Because I say, with everything that's happening in Washington, these guys have now said who they are, and the senators, the long old senators, have now said who the enemy is. The enemy is FreedomWorks and SenateConservatives.com. Those guys, started by Jim DeMint and FreedomWorks, that's the enemy. So I say, now that they've identified who they're afraid of, give to them. Give to FreedomWorks and SenateConservatives.com.
Mercury.